Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the class of Human Resource Management. Today, we are going to talk about competency modeling. But first of all, let me share my screen. How about now? I hope you can see my screen already. Yeah, but before we go any further, I'd like to go back to job analysis. Why we should review the topic of job analysis? First of all, because you are going to do these procedures in your final project. And then second of all, because this is the foundation of the course of human resource management. We know because human resource management is talking about how we manage people to do the job in the right way, in the way that they are supposed to do. So the thing is, we have to understand what the job is all about first. So the job analysis is, do you remember any of it? Yeah, for example, if you are hired by a company to conduct job analysis for particular positions, how would you start with? Take a moment to answer this question. And the second question will be, what is the output of job analysis? And what's the output of job analysis for? Do you get them all? Did you get the answers? Okay, job analysis, as I said before, it will be a foundation of all the human resource practices like recruitment, selection, human resource planning, employee training and development, career development, performance management, compensations, and many other practices of human resource. And if you remember correctly, job analysis will produce job description that will lead to job specification. So, did you get your memory refreshed by now? If not, then you need to look back to the book and try to review each of these terms. Okay? You're good? Yeah. So let me lay out of all the terms. Job analysis is about the process, doing and collecting all information about the job. Job description would be the output of the process of job analysis, in which it is a written summary of the tasks, duties, responsibilities, working conditions that a particular job entails. Whereas job specification is a list of knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristic KSAOs that individual must have to perform a job description that is mentioned before successfully. Okay, there are two types of job analysis, if you may remember, task-oriented and person-oriented. Okay, to get the definition correctly, I let you to exercise this. What is the job-oriented college student? And what is the person-oriented college student? So what's college student do? That will be the question of job-oriented job analysis, because it's about analysis of tasks necessary to complete the job, and the definition will be more concrete. Whereas in person or worker-oriented job analysis, it is about the analysis of the skills or abilities required to do the job. Can you figure out how to fill out this blank list? Okay, good. So if you ask yourself what you're supposed to do as college student, you may come up with a long list like attend lectures, take notes, read text or reference book, write papers, and do homeworks. But if you are doing the person or worker-oriented job analysis, you may want to ask yourself the question about what kind of attribute that you as college student supposed to have. And you may come up with a long list of attributes as well, I believe, like as a college student, you have to be able to self-motivated, to work independently, integrate diverse information, because probably you will listen to the lecturer and then you will cross-check with what has been there in the textbook while you're here for somewhere else, and then you try to integrate all information coming from different sources and put together on your assignment paper. Maybe you have to be having good long-term memory, just like when I asked you about the topic that you got 2 weeks ago about job analysis. I don't know how many of you remember correctly. You need to be intelligent, not necessarily though. Yeah, because you can work hard instead. You need to be diligent and have time management skills. Okay, from this example, can you differentiate between these two terms, job-oriented and person-oriented? Okay, so here are another example of job description for computer programmer. So when you are doing your final project later, maybe you will be asked to write about the job description for particular job on your own choosing. So you will have to write down this kind of activities in job descriptions that will entail to the job that you are observing. Okay, so you can read yourself what is the job description for computer programmer. After that, you may want to continue to write down the job specification for computer programming that will look like this. So to be the computer programmer, you need to have knowledge of computer things, English language, because all the computer scripts are written in English, not Indonesia, okay? Or you need to have a knowledge of a little bit of math, maybe if you do a little bit of coding, and you need to have skills in writing computer program, for example, critical thinking and complex problem solving, maybe if you're working on developing a system for particular procedures in the company, for example, so you have to translate the procedure, the manual procedure into a computer language. Ability for arranging information in pattern, oral and written comprehension, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's go back to the two types of job analysis. So task-oriented is actually associated with job description, while person-oriented is associated with job specification. If we go back to what we are going to discuss today, competency modeling, I could say that task-oriented is actually about traditional job analysis that more focus on the job description. But competency modeling, here we are going to focus more to person that do the job. Okay. Okay, so go back to the college students. So we could say that in traditional job description, you will list down the task-oriented job analysis, while in competency modeling, you will take a look more into the person itself. And now why competencies? There's going to be a simple answer to that questions because competency is a common language. You know, let's take a look at the previous example a little bit. Okay, attend lectures. It's very specific to college student, right? But intelligent, self-motivated could be there in many other jobs. Even the lecturer, they have to be self-motivated. Even, I don't know, computer programmer, even a secretary. Yeah. So can you get the sense? Now, in nowadays human resource management, they tend to go to the competency because of this reason. Competency provide common language. In another word to say it is common language means that it will last no matter the time frame. Yeah, but job description can end anytime. For example, college student, they have to attend lecture. Yeah, you see nowadays, you don't have to come to the university and attend lectures. You just keep sitting where you are at home or wherever you are at the moment. So it means that there has been a change due to the time given or the external conditions. The activity can be changed, but something beneath you as a person will stay. So the activity of college student may change, like they no longer have to come to the university to attend lecture, but the attributes are still there, like the college students should be diligent, should be self-motivated, and it will be there all the time, no matter time will change or pandemic or whatever. You as a college student should stay self-motivated. Okay, so based on my explanation, you may come to the conclusion that competency modeling is a special form of job analysis. Now let's go back to the basic. What is competency? Yeah, there are a lot of definitions given by authors in every books, like by Dave Ulrich. It is like a popular one. Competency refers to the individual knowledge, skills, ability, or personality characteristic that directly influence his or her job performance. Other authors give different definition. You may take a look at yourself. Okay, but everyone agree that competency is something that embedded to the person to be successful while doing a job. Okay, so what is competency at? Yeah, competency can be in the level of knowledge, skills, attitude, ability. Can be in all step in psychological level. Okay, What are the steps? This is important for you guys for doing the job analysis project. You may follow these steps. So there are only three steps, three primary steps actually. So it's very easy to remember. The first is data gathering and preparation. And the second stage, while you have all your data that you needed on your table, you continue to data analysis. And then the last stage is validation, because you need to go back to the company and speak to the manager and so on to ask if the things that you have done are valid according to the real practices. Okay, now let's take a look at how the data can be gathered and prepped. The source of job information. How is the information collected? So actually I got some questions from you guys. You were asking if you go to a company whom you have to talk to, who will be the respondent of your study? Is the respondent the human resource staff? Should the respondent the human resource manager only? Now you have to listen very carefully. This the following lectures, so those kind of questions no longer take place. Okay, so how is the information collected? If you ask about what the secretary of the director supposed to do while doing the job, who do you think you will ask such question? Right, you need to ask the secretary itself and not the human resource, because the human resource has no idea how the secretary should do the job. So you should go to the person who performed the job. Okay, observing the incumbents perform the job. What is incumbent? Incumbent is the person who do the job. So you can ask the person or you observe the person while doing the job. Is it possible to observe? Yes, it does, especially for the clerical job, the job that can be observed, that is visible, you know, like a teller in the bank. You can observe the teller while doing the job because it's really presenting there. Okay, you can even start to study what's the time gonna take for the teller to serve one customer. Actually, we will be discussing that with the assistant, how to establish the working time standard. Okay, it's really possible. But if the job that you are observing or the job under study is manager, for example, of course, you're not going to be able to observe how manager do the job. Probably you will end up with looking at him sitting at his desk all day without doing anything, because managers do a brain work, right? So it's unobservable. Okay, instead you can do the third method, interviewing him, interviewing subject matter expert. What is subject matter expert or SMEs? It means expert on the associated subject. So for example, if you are going to study marketing person or salesperson, okay, you can interview the salesperson on the company that you are studying at, but you can also ask somebody else. like the same salesperson, maybe the more experienced one, because they are the subject matter experts. Okay, another example, if you are going to uh, study about quality control job, okay, you can interview the person who do the QC, the quality control in the company, but you can ask the consultant of quality control, because there are a lot of quality consultant in Indonesia. So this consultant acts as subject matter expert. Okay, now you understand the definition. Okay, let's check what SMEs. So SMEs are people who have in-depth knowledge of specific job under analysis, job skills, and abilities. The SMEs can be the job incumbent, the person who are doing the job. Yeah, you can do that. You can call job incumbent as SMEs. The SMEs can be the supervisors, the managers, the superiors of the persons who are doing the job. Or the SME, as I mentioned before, can be the job analyst or the consultants of the particular subjects. Okay, there are some methods for doing job analysis. Maybe you have gotten this discussion two weeks ago with Pak Satria while discussing about job analysis. So I'm going to just refresh your memory a little bit about the methods, like interviews. Yeah, what's gonna be the advantage of executing this method for doing job analysis, and what's going to be disadvantage. Other method that you can use is questionnaire. There are also the advantages and disadvantages of using questionnaire for doing job analysis. You can do observation as the example that I've given you before. You can study the logbook or worker diaries. You know, some workers, they have to write down all the activities that they have done every day, yes, in the logbook. So you can start with the logbook as well. It's going to be a good document to start with. Yeah, since we are here, I'd like to mention as well about job analysis. You can start with the existing documents that you can find in the company. Yeah, especially if the job is not the new one. If the job already exists before, there are going to be job descriptions somewhere then. Okay, so that's going to be a perfect start before you do the job analysis by your own. Yeah, of course, if it is possible, if you are allowed to access such document, that will be great. Okay, after that, you can just do the study yourself. You can do interview, observation, questionnaire, and many other methods, and try to cross-check with the existing job description, and you can come up with some conclusion then whether the old job description is still valid, still relevant to the current job, because probably the existing job description were made like 2 years ago, and nowadays the jobs are already different in nature. So the things that you are doing in job analysis, it's a kind of reviewing, yeah, or updating the job description that have been there before. Okay, so study identified jobs. So you know, it's not necessarily to have an access to the existing job description of the company under observation, because you can go online and check out the template of job description somewhere in the internet that some people may have uploaded. Yeah, for example, like secretary or teller, of course, all bank got teller uh, if for serving the customer, right? So there must be somewhere in internet that it is okay to do that. But of course, it's not going to be your only source to write the specific job description for that company. It's just going to be a start. It's just going to be one of many references that you are going to refer to. Okay, and then identify and assign weight to the skill. Yeah, each job has minimum skill requirement necessary for effective role performance, and each job needs some different kind of skills. For example, technical and non-technical skills. Yeah, some technical skills may be like you guys as college students should have technical skill like the basic math. Yeah, you are going to need that, the basic math. Basic math is a technical skill for college student, but there are a lot of non-technical skills like note taking, for example, or long memory, yeah, and like time management, self-motivation. That's something that soft skill are related to personality, you could say, that would be defined as non-technical skill. Okay, source for skill identification can be everywhere. Yeah, or you can do behavioral event interview as well. It's a bit advanced technique, so I won't discuss it in any detail for now. You can find out yourself if you like to. Okay, because we are talking about competencies, remember, now we are going to identify a probable competencies or possible definitions of competencies. Okay, skills to be applied behaviorally to become competency. Okay, this is the how would you define competency or behavior that relate or that leads to competency? The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. You will be able to come up to this by doing observation to the job. Okay, focus on individual. Like for example, while doing the observation, you don't have to focus on the person doing the job, but you can also look at the individual thought, feeling, and behavior that come up during the observation. Okay, you can also try to distinguish between the good performer and bad performer. Yeah, for example, okay, if you want to observe about the competencies of college student, you can take two kind of samples for your studies. The student who got like the highest GPA, yeah, and the student who got the lowest GPA in your class or in your school. And then you pick these two guys as your two sample, and you can study the most cleverest guy in your school to study the behavior leading to success in a role. Okay, and you can study this guy who got the lowest GPA at your school to observe the behavior that lead to a failure or frustration to perform the role. This is going to be a very valid study then, because then you can compare, you can contrast between the star and the average performer, or even the good and bad performer. Okay, and we come to the second stage now, data analysis. Okay, when you have finished the second stage, you will end up with a long list of probable competencies like, okay, diligent, intelligent, maybe in a bad performance student, you will come up with lazy. He likes to delay working on assignment, for example, and what else? Yeah, you can go on with the list. You, in the second state, need to review the internal consistency, validity, and exhaustiveness. So, for example, maybe in observing college student, you may want to take the third sample, the average student, so the student with the average GPA. So you can then try to check the consistency, whether being diligent is really needed as a student, because probably there are some guys who are not that diligent, who likes to delay doing the assignment, who are a little bit lazy but turn out to be successful performance. Okay, so you need to study about that. A second step, construct competency definition. It should be simple, brief, meaningful, state behavioral expectation from employee. Oh, what is that? Let's go slowly, okay? Yeah, in this stage, you may need to define what the competency is all about. Okay, for example, if you say to be a college student, you need to be able to think critically. So you may need to come up with the definition of critical thinking, because people can have different definition out of one competency. Okay, for example, like here, systematic thinking means show interest in perspective of others and can combine and contrast different disciplines. While conceptual and analytical thinking means diagnosis, collects, and analysis information. So by giving this definition, people can understand a little bit better what's the difference between conceptual and analytical thinking and systematic thinking. Yeah, this is only an example of competencies, okay? So you can come up with your own definition. For example, what's the definition of student being diligent, being intelligent, being good in time management, being self-motivated? Okay, there are some other example you can take a look at. There are also people that like to give definition in two different way, which is positively and negatively. Yeah, it's going to provide better understanding, you know. So the more definition you give in each competency, the better understanding of the people can get. Okay, what now? Yeah, after giving definition for each competency, the following task that you have to do is giving the grading, you know, such as your GPA. Yeah, well, after attending this lecture, you will be given grade like A, B, B, C, right? Okay, in studying competency, you need to define that. Yeah, okay, so for example, to get A in the competency of time management, how the student should do, how the student should perform. Okay, so that kind of question, you can do that kind of question to build your own matrix of definition. So later on, you will need to come up with the complete list of metrics to be able to do the grading. For example, number one. So we are still talking about competency of college student, okay? Number one, time management. So you put out the definition of time management, and then you put also the definition of time management with grading A, time management with grading B, time management with grading D. It means it's going to fail. Okay, and then you can go on with your list. Number two, self-motivated. And then you will give the definition of student being self-motivated. And then how the student will look like to get A for self-motivated. And how is the grading B for self-motivated? Can you get the idea? Okay, you can exercise yourself, okay, and go on with the list. Yeah, and then we come to the third stage, the final stage actually. Yeah, in this stage, it means that you have finished all the draft, your first draft of competencies. For example, for college student, you end up with 10 competencies. Let's say time management, self-motivated, diligent, analytical thinking, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then each of the competence you give their own definition and also definition for each grade A, B, C, D. Okay, that kind of draft is good, and you are going to have that for the final project. And then after that, you go to the final stage, validation. You cannot just say, I'm done with my job after getting the draft. No, you have to go back to the company and speak with the manager if they are happy with that draft, because maybe they have different thought. Maybe what you are coming up with, the draft, is not 100% correct. It's not 100% relevant to the practice. So the method that you can use for having validation is, for example, having focus group meetings with managers or directors. Yeah, the more people you involve in the validation stage, the more valid your draft will be. Okay, check for ease of understanding, because sometimes you came up with definition that's hard to understand. In that case, you need to rework so that everyone, while reading on the definition, will get the same understanding, okay? And evaluate data adequacy, check time and process involved to implement through the firm, benchmark with other comparable organization. This is what I meant before, as it is okay to get job description of particular job from other companies as a comparison, as a benchmarking. Yeah, because you can do that in the validation stage as well. If you can access the valid document of, for example, competency model in some company that may have similar business with yours, yeah, you can absolutely benchmark with that company. Reinforce proficiency level, conduct proficiency analysis. Proficiency means grading. Yeah, grading that I mentioned before, A, B, C, D. But in this case, they use a scale of 6 from no basis to expert. This is okay. This is absolutely acceptable. how you would do the grading, using A, B, C, D, or A, B, 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 C, C, D, or using like this, okay, bad, average, good, excellent performance. Yeah, that's absolutely okay. It's really up to you how you will measure the proficiency level. You understand the proficiency here means, right? Proficiency means like how expert you are, how good you are. Okay. Yeah, it actually means the grading. Okay, guys, if you have any question, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or just write down email, WhatsApp, anything. Okay. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.